Fox 5 News at 10 starts right now.
Hours after Iran attacked a U.S. airbase in Qatar, the president says Israel and Iran have agreed to a ceasefire. How leaders here at home and worldwide are responding to the war in the Middle East. Begin tonight with the war with Iran. These are live pictures tonight from Tel Aviv, Israel, where it appears there is progress to report. President Trump says Israel and Iran have agreed to a ceasefire.
This after Iran launched missiles at a U.S. base in Qatar in response to U.S. airstrikes. Fox's Connor Hansen has more on how the U.S. and world leaders are responding tonight from New York.
President Trump says Israel and Iran have fully agreed to a ceasefire, ending what he's now calling the 12-day war. The news came just hours after Iran tried to retaliate against the U.S. for its strikes on the country's nuclear program. Announcing a ceasefire on social media, President Trump wrote, quote, "This is a war that could have gone on for years and destroyed the entire Middle East, but it didn't and never will. God bless Israel. God bless Iran. God bless the Middle East. God bless the United States of America, and God bless the world."
The president really hit the reset button and said, look, let's actually produce long-term peace for the region.
Earlier in the day, Iranian missiles could be seen being blown up in the sky above Qatar. The president says no one was hurt and there was hardly any damage at the El Udeid military base. Gulf nations like Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and UAE condemned Iran's strike on the U.S. base. The U.S. expected retaliation after bombing 3 of Iran's nuclear sites. New footage released by the Air Force shows the B-2 bombers used in that mission. Before the ceasefire announcement, Israel said it carried out its most extensive airstrikes on Iran.
When you understand the enormous war machine that was built on the Iranian nuclear program by Iran, you understand what an enormous risk it is to the world.
President Trump made his announcement around 6 p.m. Eastern Time, saying the ceasefire would take effect 6 hours later. In New York, Connor Hansen, Fox News.
Law enforcement agencies across Georgia are on high alert tonight in response to the ongoing conflict in the Middle East.
Tonight, Governor Kemp says his team is working to ensure that all Georgians are safe.
Just to make sure everybody on the government side of things is at a heightened state of awareness, just to make sure we're ready for, anything retaliatory that may come.
Over the weekend, Governor Kemp joined other governors from across the country on a call with Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem to discuss how Iran might respond. Governor Kemp says here in Georgia, state officials are working with law enforcement on all levels as they closely monitor any potential threats.
We just wanted to make sure Georgians knew that we're on top of this and keeping our eyes open, and they should do the same thing. If they see something, say something.
The governor says there are no known immediate threats involving our state, but as you just heard, he's urging Georgians to remain vigilant.
Amid the heightened tensions in the Middle East, the U.S. State Department is urging Americans to be careful if they travel outside the country. This comes after U.S. forces dropped more than a dozen bombs on 3 nuclear sites in Iran over the weekend. Officials are not saying you can't leave the country, but are warning U.S. travelers could now be a target. The State Department regularly issues travel advisories ranging from exercise normal precaution to do not travel. For more information, we've placed the link on our website, fox5atlanta.com.
And because of the conflict in the region, United and American Airlines have both halted some passenger flights. United's daily flights between Newark Airport and Dubai are now paused. American says it has adjusted its schedule between Doha, the capital of Qatar, and Philadelphia International Airport until June 22nd. Atlanta-based Delta previously suspended all flights between JFK and Tel Aviv through August. The airlines say they're monitoring the situation and will make further changes as necessary.
For the latest on the escalating conflict in the Middle East, head to fox5atlanta.com or our Fox Local app. We have articles like this one with the latest information from D.C. and the Middle East, plus information on how law enforcement here in Georgia is responding. Back to our top story tonight. President Trump announcing Israel and Iran have agreed to a ceasefire.
He claimed that it would be phased in over the next 24 hours, but Iran's foreign minister posts on X that there is no ceasefire agreement, but says that if Israeli airstrikes stop by 4 a.m. local time, they would also stop attacks. Well, it's now 6 a.m. local time in Tehran. They're 7.5 hours ahead of us, so 6 a.m. Tuesday. Israel also has not confirmed a ceasefire. The news comes just hours after Iran launched 13 missiles at a U.S. military base in Qatar. Those strikes intercepted before they could reach the base.
A Metro Atlanta woman is thankful to be home after escaping Israel last week. Sonia Delgado's friend had invited her and her daughter to join her on a week-long trip to Israel. She says things changed at the end of the week when they first had to take shelter. The next night, she knew she had to leave. Thankfully, she got in contact with the Florida nonprofit Gray Bull after the Israeli airspace closed. The organization took her and 300 others from Israel to Jordan, then to Cyprus, before returning to America through Tampa.
We were told it was very quiet, but also we did all the things as an American that we're supposed to do. We checked the, State Department, registered with STEP. That nothing said do not travel to Israel. Just really, relishing in the fact of how lucky I am, how thankful I am.
So far, Gray Bull has helped over 700 people get out of Israel in recent weeks. Their most recent mission was this morning.
Developing tonight, the Israeli military says it has recovered the remains of 3 more hostages in the Gaza Strip. The military says all 3 were killed during the October 7th attacks. Israel says Hamas is still holding 50 hostages. Less than half of them are expected to still be alive. This comes as 4 more Palestinians were killed and 22 wounded while waiting for humanitarian aid. The war in the Middle East is expected to be a big topic during this week's NATO summit. World leaders from NATO's 32 member nations are planning to meet in the Netherlands.
President Trump is heading there tomorrow. In addition to the war in the Middle East, the war in Ukraine will also be a major topic as European allies worry about a growing threat from Russia. NATO's Secretary General has stressed the importance of missile defense systems and long-range strike capabilities. At the summit, members could vote to increase their defense spending to as high as 5% of their GDP. But right now, some nations are not hitting the current 2% requirement.
The president has been calling on our NATO allies to do more for quite some time. He got them to step up and do more in his first term, and you'll hear the president talk about that on this next historic trip to Europe.
President Trump has also said he does not believe the U.S. should have to pay the full 5%.